good evening. Today is Monday, the 23rd of February. Hope you're doing well. Hope you've had a good start to your weeks. We're already at the end of the second month, guys. The time is moving fast. We are almost at the end of Q1. So yeah, I hope you guys are still putting in your reps. It's the winter time, but that doesn't mean that we can't get outside and practice the skill set. But otherwise, I hope you're doing well. Hope you're seeing some success. And if you're not, then hopefully today's live stream can get you a bit closer to finding the success that you want through Cold Approach. So this one is a pretty simple one, but I think it's quite effective. And I think a lot of guys miss this because we get too caught up in trying to learn the skill, trying to get better. But this live stream is all about setting intentions and setting goals. So I think I've titled it, Do You Know What You Want from Cold Approach? And so if I get started, if you don't know who I am, my name's Ian, 29 years old, former data analyst, former economic consultant. I used to work in the city in London. But now I have this YouTube channel where I help guys get over their fear of approaching women so that they can meet potential girlfriends, have, romantic experiences, and yeah, essentially nourish this really important part of life, which is our romantic relationships, and figure out that final equation in the health, wealth, and relationship equation. So I help guys get over that, and obviously I also offer coaching in order to expedite that process for anybody who just wants to, you know, just get the ball rolling and essentially make a quick transition as fast as possible. So if you're interested, link in the description. Book a call with me if you want to just have a quick chat and we can see if you're a good fit for my program. I'm already working with somebody right now in London, and then I've got another client in Rome, but I have some availability after that for March. So yeah, if you're interested, book a call. Otherwise, let's get right into it. So yeah, do you guys know what you want from Cold Approach? This is important because we go outside, we say, okay, I'm gonna go and do maybe a couple of approaches. Maybe you guys set timers, right? Maybe you guys have a certain number in mind, and that's really good. I think, especially when you're learning the skill, especially when you're trying to get better and better, and you want to have some sort of structure, then it's really good to have those intentions. But I think we need to go a step beyond that, right? And I don't think enough guys do this. Again, like I said, because maybe, and this might be on reflection, maybe the message that I've preached for a while might sort of conflict with what I'm saying with this live stream, because as you guys know, I've made the point that Cold Approach is a very volatile skill set, right? So it's very hard to predict who you're going to meet. It's very hard to predict, how often are you going to bump into somebody who's receptive, right? Somebody who's actually interested in you and wants to go on a date with you. Because on any given day, you get a different mix of people. And so it's very hard to be very specific about what you want from a session, right? So of course, we all go out with the intention of setting a date, but that doesn't guarantee that that's going to happen that particular day, right? And so obviously, the lesson here, or the main lesson here is, the more you open, the more you close. It is a numbers game. It's not just a numbers game, it's also an iteration game where you have to get better and better at the skill and the technique to give yourself a better chance of success. But if we're controlling for that factor, right? Meaning if we're controlling for the idea that you know what you're doing and you've got a good enough skill set, not perfect, but you've got a good enough skill, then the more reps you put in, the more likelihood you will get what you want, right? This is why living in a city is really important. This is why having access to a city is really important, so that you can approach as often as possible. However, we need to go a step beyond that, right? And so, have you guys actually asked what you want, right? And so when I say what you want, I mean, what do you actually want from the skill in terms of the girls, right? So, do you want a girlfriend? And if you want a girlfriend, don't just stop there. Do you want a short-term girlfriend? Do you want a medium-term girlfriend? Do you want a long-term girlfriend, right? And if you do want a girlfriend, what kind of girlfriend do you want? Do you want someone who's a bit more like you? Do you want someone who's a bit more extroverted? Do you want someone who's, got a certain personality type? Is she from a certain ethnicity, or is she from a certain culture, right? Again, doesn't have to be too specific. I'm not saying build this very unique custom build player like you could in the I mean, I don't know if you can still do this on I don't know if you can still do this on FIFA, but like I remember back in the day you could like make your own player and like add their own stats. I'm not saying do that, but try and be fairly specific, right? At the very least, you need to know what you're looking for, right? And then let's say you want, let's say you don't want to go and you just want to have a couple of short term, medium term experiences. Well, then how many do you want, right? So it's easy for somebody to say, if I ask you, what do you want from Cold Approach? It's easy for you to say, yeah, I just want to have a couple of experiences, right? But that's too vague. Like, what does that mean, right? I just want to have a couple of experiences. Because I remember saying that as well when I first, let's say, asked myself the question. And then I realized, hold on, that's so vague that it doesn't really give me enough to grab onto, right? And so a better answer to that question would be, instead of saying, oh, I just want a couple of short term experiences, no, I want a new girlfriend every month, right? So I could be like, I want one short term fling every single month, right? For the rest of this year. That would be quite fun. And, that just gives me enough to be like, okay, I'm happy with that, right? I get to have a new girlfriend experience and I get to get more experience, right? Get more in touch with, how to date, and, I get a better chance of seeing what I like, what I don't like, what I'm into, what I'm not into, what I seem to be more compatible with. And maybe that's your end goal, right? Like, of course, we want to have fun and we like variety, we like novelty, but, how much novelty is enough? How much variety is enough? And having that specific goal I think it's really powerful. And that's why I said this is simple, but it's very effective, because now it's very different when you're going outside. Let's say you set the goal with the intention of, I just want to have one new short term girlfriend every single month, right? So we're about to enter March. So at the beginning of March, if you said, okay, I just need one girl that I like, right, to want to come out on a date with me, well, then, even though cold approach and even though the sessions will be very volatile, now you have a lot more, let's say, calm and ease, and there's a bigger sense of control when you're going in for your sessions, because even if one session doesn't go well, okay, well, I've given myself a month to get one girl to like me, and that's very likely to happen, right? And so again, you're looking at it from you've already said to yourself, okay, I'm happy with this number of experiences per week, per month, for a year, right? And so now you're just going in with that really like concrete goal, and it just makes everything easier. Because what else will happen is when you go outside for your sessions, you you have that goal in the back of your mind, and that will also help you with filtering, because you won't be so needy, or you won't feel this need to close every single girl, right? We don't want to close every single girl. We want to qualify the girls who are actually showing interest, right? The girls who are giving us good signals. They're asking us questions. We're getting into good conversations with them. We're having a nice back and forth. I can tell that she's really engaged. She's smiling. We're making deep eye contact. And then of course eventually, if I get the opportunity to set up a date and I make that clear to her, and then she responds and goes, "Yeah, I'll be down." There's very little hesitation, and she makes it easy for me to scan for her availability. Then, yeah, that's great. That's what we're looking for, right? And so you're more focused on finding that girl because again, we only need it to happen once. Whether it's gonna take you 10 approaches or 20 approaches or 30 approaches, does it really matter? Ultimately, as long as you're not obviously going to extreme, and like I've said in the previous live streams, we don't want our entire life to revolve around cold approach. We just want to set time aside to, you know, do the approaches, right? But let's say it could either take 10 approaches, 20 approaches, or 30 approaches, let's say per week or whatever, then so be it, right? But you know that you only need one, right? And so this is going to make it way easier for you, right? And it will just keep you more sustained. You'll be more sustainable because the days where you don't get the result, you'll be okay, especially at the beginning, because you'll be like, well, yeah, I didn't get the result today, but I've still got more sessions and I've still got the rest of the month for everything to play out the way I want it to play out. And so, yeah. So yeah, I guess that is my prescription to you boys is set the goal and ask yourself, what do I actually want from this skill in terms of experiences? Because that would just make it easier for you. And yeah, that's about it. I wanted to keep this one short because it is a simple idea, it's a simple framework, but that's the point, right? Sometimes simplicity is the best form of sophistication. I don't know who gave that quote, but it's a great quote. And I was going to take it as mine, but it's not mine. I can't lie. But yeah, that's about it. Quick update. Obviously, I mentioned yesterday that I met a girl yesterday at the end of my coaching day with Kevin. And yeah, we were still talking and we were meant to go on a date tomorrow, but she had a family emergency. So yeah, we won't be able to go on a date tomorrow. And so we just kind of left it out in the open because I'm going to Rome next week, and so we can't find another day to go out together. But yeah, hopefully when I'm back, I'll see that girl at some point. She was really beautiful, from the Czech Republic. Yeah, we had a really nice, like probably 15-minute conversation yesterday, and yeah, I liked her vibe. So obviously, I was a little bit disappointed we couldn't go out tomorrow, but it is what it is, right? I'll just keep pushing. Obviously, still focusing on preparing for the second half of my immersion with Kevin. And then, of course, I've got my upcoming immersion with Giacomo in Rome, Roma, Italy. I cannot wait for that. I love pizza, by the way, boys. I think I've confessed to this guilty pleasure of being a bit of a pizza fiend, pizza addict, but yeah, it's going to be a dangerous time in Rome. I'll be surrounded by pizza and pasta and Italian girls. Ooh, got to be careful. But anyway, that's it, boys. Set your intention. Ask yourself, what do you actually want? And keep that in the back of your mind. Put it down in your notes app on your phone. Doesn't have to be too specific. The more specific, the better. But yeah, just have it in the back of your mind so that you can flourish. And you'll see a big difference in how you show up. So, on that note, good night, and I will speak to you boys tomorrow. Peace.